Okay, so while I was sitting in like a half-hour queue waiting for an Act 4 game, I got bored and made a tier list of the guns. Here it is. I've never done one of these before, so let's see. Let's start with I'm gonna rank them by ammo types. I'm gonna start with the pistols and SMGs. I'm gonna start with the primaries. SMGs, I think the UMP is the best because it does the most damage for the ammo type. Right, does 24. It's basically rifle damage in an SMG. It's pretty good. And then I'm gonna go for the Vector, which is like, I guess this would be S tier and this would be A tier, however that works. It does decent damage with a good fire rate, very easy control. Then it's going to be the Uzi, which is one of the default weapons. Damage is not that great, but it's easy to control, and fire rate's pretty good. Then I'm going to say the MP5 is basically the worst. It's got a slower fire rate, about the same damage as the Uzi, but like, it's just worse. Right? Then I'll go for the secondaries. I'm just going to talk about the pistols that use pistol ammo, so not the Magnum and not the Deagle, because this uses assault rifle ammo, this uses sniper ammo if you didn't already know. Best one is going to be the Tech 9. It just fires really fast, and it's really good if you have the infinite ammo secondary perk. Then I'm actually going to say the Glock Auto. I know a lot of people don't actually like it because it uses a lot of ammo, but if you do have the infinite ammo perk and you don't have a Tech 9, the Glock Auto is a really good option. It just fires really fast. Like, it's just really good in a pinch. If you're gonna need to switch to your secondary, you just want something that can spray down something really fast, and a lot of these other pistols aren't gonna do it for you. Then the only other good pistol is gonna be the 1911. It does really good damage, 20. It's about on par with like a rifle. And the rest of them, the Beretta just sucks, and the Glock just sucks. Like, the Beretta's just completely useless. Okay. On to the rifles. I'm gonna say the best rifle, S tier if you wanna call it that. It's gonna be, oh, this was the guy I played the Act 4 game with. Anyway. I'm gonna say the ranch rifle is the best because it does really good damage. Like, you can see it does a lot more damage than the other rifles. But it's also really easy to control, and it fights a horde pretty well because the fire rate's actually pretty good. Then I'm gonna say the... where's the AK? I'm gonna say the AK. It's got pretty good damage, very good fire rate, it's very easy control. Very easy to dump damage downrange. I know some people might like the auto, so it's probably on par with the ranch rifle, honestly. Then I'm actually gonna go for the M249, which uses rifle ammo. I'm honestly not that big a fan of either LMG, but like, the capacity of this thing is just really nice. Just having that 80 bullets or more if you're using one of the magazine. Then I'm gonna go with the Scar, which does pretty decent damage, about the same as a ranch rifle if I remember correctly. Yeah, about a little under 20. It's a little bit harder to control, but it is a auto. So compared to the AK, it's a little bit harder to control. But about the same damage. Then I'm gonna say the M4 is my next pick. It's got decent damage. It's very easy to control. It's about the same as like one of the better SMGs maybe, but not super amazing. Then I'll go with the RPK. It's... oop, wrong gun. It's got lower, it's got half the mag size as the saw. Still decent damage, but honestly the mobility trade-off, while it's not as good as the saw, I'm gonna say it's like worse than most of the rifles just because of that mobility trade-off, and I value mobility a lot if you've seen my builds and the way I clear like Nightmare. So I would much rather have a rifle over the AK. I mean, not the AK, the RPK. And then I'm gonna put this specific rifle, the M16, last. Just because it does like about the same damage as the M4, right? But it's a burst, so you're using a lot more ammo when sometimes you don't need to use 3 bullets to kill. So your bullet conservation is going to be worse. And then the last thing is the Magnum, which uses rifle ammo. Does pretty good damage, but the thing is the recoil really sucks on it here. I'm not going to control it at all. And it just takes a while to reset, so I wouldn't really use it. Plus, the thing about using this gun is that you'd be taking rifle ammo away from teammates that could be using a better rifle, because a lot of people are going to be rifle primary. So I just would avoid the Magnum in general. Now for the snipers, my S tier pick, or the best one, is actually none of these. It's going to be the Deagle. Simply because it's a secondary that does basically the same job as these guys. It's just picking things at long range, and then you also get to keep something like a shotgun or an automatic rifle to deal with the hordes, which is just going to be better in my opinion. And then my next pick would be the Phoenix. I don't really use it that much, but it does pretty good damage. And if you're damage perked, like you're using what are the damage perks? These two combined, you can basically two-shot, I think, the big guys, which is pretty nice. And I think at veteran, I think you can still one-shot them, like if they're not armored, which is pretty good. The thing is, you're going to need to get secondary to deal with hordes, or if you're playing at a higher difficulty, you're going to need the perk card that gives you a primary as a secondary, so you can have double primaries basically, which also means you need to perk for this gun, which would not be ideal because, like I said, personally I find the optimal build to be just stacking stamina and movement related cards. So the fact that you have to stack another card just for this gun isn't great in my opinion. And then I'm gonna say the M1A1 is actually pretty good. Might even rate it higher than this, I'm not really sure. Because it does one-shot a lot of the normal zombies, it's pretty good. It's also a default rifle, so you can pick it up at the start of any round. And it fires pretty quick, so it's pretty decent. The Barrett I would just never touch. It's just too slow, it's too clunky, it's just a bad choice in my opinion. And now for my preferred class, which is going to be the shotguns. Basically all the shotguns are generally pretty good. My favorite would be the Super 90. It is reminiscent of the auto shotty in Left 4 Dead, but without the automatic. So you do have to semi-auto it. But it's got very good damage, it's got a very good fire. It's just overall just very solid. It's probably the best one here, and it's got very good ammo conservation because it's got very good damage, and you can still fire it pretty fast compared to the AA-12, which fires very fast, but the damage is a little bit worse. So your ammo conservation is going to be a little bit worse, and that is not ideal, especially at higher difficulties when you need to fire a lot. You want to make good use of your ammo. Yeah. So like this guy's just kind of like a double-edged sword, just like kind of better but worse at the same time just because of the ammo. Then I would say the default shotty, the 870, is a pretty good choice. I like picking it when I'm running quick. It's a very good default shotgun, very good damage at the range. Right, its fire rate is worse than the Super 90, of course, but I mean the damage makes up for it, I guess, if you can't find the Super 90. Then the TAC-14, which does the most damage out of all the shotguns. I actually do not prefer, just because it starts with only 3 shots. So it doesn't deal with hordes as well as any of the other ones. And it deals with the big guys okay, but honestly, if you just have this gun, it's better. But if you're really pressed for ammo, I guess this is a good choice. Just because it does more damage. But overall, it's still one of the worst ones, I feel. And then this guy, the secondary shotgun. Its damage is actually very good, but it fires both barrels at once, and there's no way to make it fire only one. So it's not very good at like switching to. If you have to deal with a horde, you can only fire one shot, basically. So unless you're being chased by a horde and you cleared everything, and then there's only one zombie left, it's not that great of a secondary. I will say it's a decent secondary when you're down, though, because you're just sitting there, lying there, getting surrounded by zombies, and you just get to keep clicking. And you don't care about taking damage because you're already on the ground. So, yeah. It's an okay secondary to have. And then for the melee weapons, all the melee weapons suck. Just because there's too many situations where, like, Havoc going with a melee build screws you. Like, if you're playing on Nightmare, you can have acid zombies, incendiary zombies, exploding zombies, all that stuff just screws you. And then, like, especially a lot of the go fast builds, if you're doing Bad Seed or something, where you have to take out multiple things at once, it's just bad. Like, you're just standing there for too long. The fire axe is the best melee, I think, just because of the damage you do with it. But basically all the other ones suck. I think that covers all the weapons pretty quickly. Yeah. Let me know if you disagree with any of my choices or the way I make my decisions.